Good afternoon, and welcome to the Core Technology Conversations, brought to you by Research Cores in the Division of Research at FAU Atlantic University. My name is Tom Graziano, and I'm the Director of the Research Cores, and I will be your moderator for today. Research Cores are federally compliant, fee-for-service, shared resources that provide access to instruments, technologies, as well as expert consultation and other services to scientific and clinical investigators. We currently have 7 active cores at FAU. This seminar series will let you know more about those cores and give you a glimpse into some of the amazing research each one is capable of. It is now my pleasure to introduce Jimena Levy, the Director of the Clinical Research Unit.
Thank you, Tom. Hello, everybody. I'm going to share my screen with all of you. So thank you so much for joining the seminars for the core facilities. The Clinical Research Unit is the newest approved core facility. We obtained the approval in the last July, and since there, we have been working on projects that even with everything happening with COVID, we have been still able to offer services to our researchers. And we are happy to share some of the projects that they have been doing during this time and what services are the services that the CRU can offer. Before I go to the projects, I wanted to go over the concept of clinical research. Sometimes clinical research units are specific for conducting clinical trials, and it's important to have clarification on those terms. So clinical research, and this is an NIH definition, clinical research is any research conducted with human subjects or material of human origin in which the investigator has a direct contact with the subject. That's clinical research. Epidemiological and behavioral studies are also considered clinical research. Outcomes research and health services research are also included in the definition of clinical research. And to clarify, clinical trials are sometimes only categorized as the studies that involve drugs, devices, biologicals, or vaccines. However, because of the expanding on the definition of clinical trials by NIH a couple of years ago, clinical trials is any study in which one or more subjects are prospectively assigned to an intervention to evaluate the effects of those interventions on health-related biomedical or behavioral outcomes. Meaning, any study with human subjects where the subjects are assigned to an intervention, any kind of intervention, it could be a program, it could be, and this is the definition of an intervention, is a manipulation of the subjects or subject environment for the purpose of modifying one or more health-related processes. That's what an intervention is considered. And then health pre-specified effect on an intervention on the subjects. Meaning, and our faculty and the Office of Sponsored Programs, since the change of the definition by NIH, we have been dealing with what studies fall under the definition of clinical trial or not. And big percentage of our studies are related to health outcomes are clinical trials. So in summary, the Clinical Research Unit, we conduct clinical research, which is the general term, the global term for studies with human subjects, including clinical trials. And within that group, we do FDA-regulated studies, which are the studies for devices, drugs, or biologics products. So having said that, I wanted to go over a little bit what's the experience of the researcher when they access the unit or to access the unit. It is is not a standard procedure because it depends on the protocol, and we are very flexible on the ways to approach the unit because it depends completely on the protocol. It depends on the needs of the study. It depends on what services, what facilities the PI is going to need. But in general, this is what the research experience will be. So we are advising to contact us early in the process at the time that the PI is developing the proposal, at the time that they are working on the protocol, so we can work together on what resources are available and what is feasible. There are situations that, given that we are a different model and we are a CRU, a clinical research unit that doesn't work under a medical center, which is very unique and is absolutely interesting because that allows us to help the basic scientists to work with the clinicians, and having the unit as a central service for the colleges of FAU that allows us to have a wider clinical research protocol, especially in translational sciences. So the feasibility stage is very important. Come to us, talk to us, and we will help and guide the PI on what services are available. So after that, the process of approval and submission of the forms, it depends if the CRU staff is involved in the approval process, because that's a service that we provide. This PI will be submitting the forms before going through the approval process. Approvals may be IRB, IBC, approval from the hospitals if the study needs collaboration with the hospital. So these two steps can be alternated. So after the study is approved and we're ready to start, we will conduct a training session where we want the research team on the PI side and the CRU research team work together and get training on the specific protocol. That's the time when we go over the protocol, the procedures, the research methods, and everybody gets together to get training on that. And after that, we start the process. And I will go over that in a little bit, but in general, we go from proposal preparation to closing of the study. That's all the steps in that process, we can get involved. And one of our main goals is to provide recruitment support. We really want the FAU researchers to get to be compliant with the recruitment goals. So this is in general the experience of a researcher accessing the unit. So a few studies that have been conducted since approval of the unit in July. We have a study, the PI is Dr. Monica Rosselli. She is working on a protocol. The title is Communication of Dementia Diagnosis, Investigated Patient, Family, and Physician Experiences, and Developing Best Practices. The objective of the study is to interview clinicians, caregivers, and patients on the process of dementia diagnosis. The study is supported by the Florida Department of Health, and the primary site is University of Florida. So Dr. Rosselli is working with PIs on UF and also UM and FAU. So the services, the research method, it was going to be in-person and phone interviews. However, now the study was completely moved to online or phone interviews. So the support that the CRU is providing to Dr. Rosselli was on the initial stage of the agreements and contracting and providing support on IRB. This study, since it's a multi-site state-funded study, it requires a single IRB, the use of the single IRB platform. So the CRU provided support on that process to the PI, and we are actively working on study advertisement and recruitment. So she needs to recruit caregivers, physicians, and patients. So the services that we are providing are directly related to recruitment. Another study, which is a different approach, and that's what I say that we have a whole different portfolio of studies, and the approach for this study is different. In this particular study, the PI, Dr. Hawthorne from College of Nursing, she is exploring the feasibility of using a mindfulness app on high-risk pregnant women. And she wants to identify also differences in cytokines, IL-6 and TNF-alpha. And if you think about this study, this falls under the definition of a clinical trial. It's an intervention, participants are prospectively assigned, and we are measuring a specific health outcome that was or is expected to be the result of the intervention. So this study has a little bit more strict regulations because it falls under the clinical trials definition and is a project sponsored by the Association of Women Health Obstetrician and Neonatal Nurses. The role of the CRU in this project, which involves mindfulness tutorial on meditation practices, the app, and blood draws. But this study is happening in a local hospital. This study is not happening at FAU and is not going to be conducted because the patients for this study need to be admitted to the hospital. And the PI is doing the procedures herself with a group of research assistants. But the service that the CRU is providing of this, we help her on the regulatory process for IRB approval. We also provided services to help her to find the hospital that will be able to work with Dr. Hawthorne on the study. And we will work with our coordinators, will work with Dr. Hawthorne on bringing the specimens from the hospital and processing the specimens in our lab and doing all the storage process. We have two more studies that hopefully will happen in 2021. And is related specifically to management of specimens. One is Dr. Shirley Gordon from College of Nursing. The study, she is hoping to create a biorepository of harmful algal blooms, and she's going to collect specimens. And since this is very specific of our region, this is a very valuable repository that researchers around the country would like to have access. So the CRU will provide support to Dr. Gordon on the processing and storage of the specimens. And Dr. Greg Fields, he has been working very closely with the CRU on creating a cancer biorepository with the same idea of having specimens tissue available for our researchers. A study that requires full support from the IRB. This is a study that was designed by a group of PIs from several colleges. The objective is to collect COVID-19 clinical data and biospecimens, both, to be able to be used for future research. The study involves consenting the participants, but also consenting the participants for future research. That's a specific procedure, and participants have to specifically consent for that to be able to be contacted for future research. The participant interviews, blood draws, saliva collection, and the study involves balance and walk evaluation. All of that is happening at the CRU we provided support in the study design, all the regulatory process, recruitment, data and specimen collection, specimen processing and storage, and we are going to be in charge of the gatekeeping of the registry and repository. This study, the data and specimens are available for FAU faculty, for any faculty in need of these specimens. And the study has been supported by iHealth and Scripps Institute. Another type of study is a study when the researchers may need to use the equipment of the CRU. So we have one study that will be an outcome of the registry and repository. Researchers have noticed that patients with COVID-19, they may have some changes in movement and balance. So that's why we are doing an evaluation of balance and walking. But based on the data from the registry, the researchers will contact those participants that were consented for future research, and they will bring them to do the study, the specific study that they want to do in our GATE lab. The research coordinators won't be involved in that study because those will be, that evaluation in the GATE lab will be conducted by the faculty and his team, but they will be able to use the laboratory. So this is an example, and this is just an idea of what will be a study that is a clinical trial, something similar to Dr. Hawthorne, but with a more wider scope. A clinical trial that is not industry sponsored. That will be a program that wants to evaluate the lifestyle, dementia progression in patients with some indications of dementia. So the study will involve visits to the unit, baseline, and for 2 years. It will involve a collection of data, dietary, physical activity logs, DEXA evaluation, cognitive assessments, and let's say they want to do an MRI at baseline and at 12 months. So that study will be a typical example of a study that the CRU can conduct and can support, from study design to IRB, regulatory, recruitment. PIs may want to consent to the participant before coming to the visit, so we will provide support with the e-consent process, collection of data in REDCap, specimen processing, and our MRI coordinator will support the coordination of finding the facility for the MRI and taking participants to the place where the MRI will be conducted. So on the other side, if we go to the end of the spectrum where we have clinical trials, FDA regulated studies, so those can be sponsored by industry sponsor or investigator initiated, we are in conditions of conduct study 2, 3, and 4. For these studies, we're working very close with the Regulatory Office of Memorial Health System. They are providing support and guidance for our team on this type of studies, or if the study involves another hospital, we work with them. So that's what the services and guidance of the CRU offers. So we have a team of dedicated staff of research support professionals skilled in all aspects of research, including pre-project approval, recruitment, enrollment, study startup, project coordination, research procedures. And we believe that having the PI and their team with the expertise of the CRU, that implies burden reduction for the PIs and for the institution in general, because of a better flow of procedures that can be combined with these two groups. Also, we provide guidance on some research tools, training, and use of Qualtrics, REDCap, e-consent process, use of the IRB platforms, including single IRB, and we are the point of contact for clinicaltrials.gov. That's not a service, that's something that we have to do, but the CRU, we are the point of contact for that requirement. The facilities, I hope everybody knows or has been at some point at the CRU in the first floor of the ME 104 building. So we have a laboratory that is equipped with two -80 freezers, a -20, and a refrigerator. We have the centrifuges, we have a hood. So we have all the capability to process the specimens. We have 4 fully equipped exam rooms, a cognitive room that was designed to conduct cognitive assessments with no distractions for the participant. The light is the proper light. So the cognitive room is a really cool room that our faculty can use. The DEXA room, the DEXA has an active license. We have 4 infusion bays with the monitors, the gait lab and the physical therapy lab. And this is very important. We have 4 reserve spots for the clinical, for the research participants, because faculty, they don't want the participants lost in the FAU campus or going to the parkimeters. So we have across the building, we have 4 parking spots reserved for them. This is the way that you will see the services that can be the CRU, because it's a core, it's a fee for service. And these are the services that we offer: regulatory consultant, a startup of clinical research, study coordination. And the study coordination, we have different levels of coordination and different fees depending on the complexity of the study, complexity of the procedures, and also the time. So a study that is 1 hour with a low complexity procedure, it will have a different fee. And the fees, we have the fees approved, so we can have the discussions with the PI related to that. So we have room utilization. Faculty are going to be able to use the rooms if that's what they need. The MRI and imaging coordination, as I explained before, and specific research procedures that we conduct at the unit are phlebotomy, ultrasounds, electrocardiograms, pulmonary function, DEXA's evaluation, gait and PT laboratory, and we can process and collect specimens, urine, nasal, blood specimens. We also have the option of providing, and that's allowed by the regulations, to provide services if the research staff, if the CRU is not is not consenting, if the research staff are not part of the research team, we can provide services. We can provide like phlebotomy service, or electrocardiogram service, or we can process specimens without being involved in the study if the researcher, the faculty doesn't need the team to collaborate in the study. Our research staff, we have, since the CRU was approved, and because of the in-person activities, research activities are on hold at FAU, we have like our research nurse. We don't have the research nurse at this moment, but she will be back at the time that the in-person activities are back. Currently, we have Marian Mirsky, who is an imaging specialist. She's also the assistant director of the unit, and she plays the role of imaging coordinator. She facilitates finding facilities, equipment, where our researchers can go to have the imaging procedures for their studies. Debbie Davis is our medical assistant, and Denitra Jackson is our recruiter and phlebotomist. They are new at FAU, and they are fantastic. We also have a pharmacy and ultrasound technician that they work without depending on the needs of the studies, but they are always available. And we have Dr. Peter Holland, who is our medical director. Dr. Holland has the years of expertise in clinical trials, and I'm the director of the unit. So in summary, that's what the core has been doing during these months. Even when the in-person activities are on hold, we are running these studies, and we are talking to researchers that are planning the research for the next year. And we are happy to have conversations early in the process before they submit the protocol. And that's what we are advising them to do. So this was a very short presentation, and I will have time. That's mainly what we wanted to do, time for questions. So I will pass this to Tom, who is back to us.
Thank you, Jimena. That was a great presentation, extremely informative on the course. And I just want to remind everybody that's currently watching, if you had any questions for Jimena, if you hover your mouse at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A button. Just go ahead and click that, and you can type any questions that you may have. And speaking of that, let's take a look at what we got. So here's one question. Can you elaborate on how the CRU manages recruiting participants for a project?
It depends on the project, but actually the COVID-19 repository, I'm going to use that as an example, because the incidence of COVID-19 is very low. We need a big sample size to be able to draw any conclusions on anything. So we were hoping that people will come to us and they will visit and enroll in the study. So we started enrolling for that study a month and a half ago, and we have to change our methods of recruitment. Now, instead of a few of them come to us, but what we are doing is going to the communities. Denitra, who is our recruiter, she has been talking to communities where they have had more cases, and now we are actually recruiting in the community. We are planning to use, I personally have a lot of experience on recruitment, so our physicians, the physicians in the community, hospitals, it depends on the study, but we have to be active in the recruitment process because that's one of the main challenges of the studies.
Let's see what else we got here. Here's another one. Do you provide epidemiological evaluations?
We do not provide the epidemiological evaluation. We can help the faculty to find the resources to do any kind. We can help with designing and running an epidemiological study, but the epidemiological evaluation, we can help the PI to find who can do that.
Okay. Got a couple more here for you. Do you write IRB protocols for faculty?
We won't write the IRB protocols for faculty because, as you know, the faculty is the responsible for the protocol, but we can work with the PI writing the protocol. As always, the responsibility is the PI responsibility, but yes, we will be happy to work with faculty working on their protocols before submission to the IRB.
Excellent, sounds good. Next one, are all services provided on site at FAU, or do you also offer remote services?
Yes, we do. And this is something that is very particular and unique from our model because the same reason, since we are not part of a medical center or hospital, we know that we will have to go to conduct studies outside of the unit. We actually have had conversations with our two main hospitals, Boca Regional in general, depending on the resources, and if they have enough resources, they will do the studies themselves. But if it's a study in collaboration with us and they don't have the resources, they will allow our coordinators to go to the hospital to help with the studies. Of course, following all the compliance of the hospital. Meanwhile, other hospitals, we can work in collaboration with them and run the studies synergically. So that's the way that we're planning to do it.
Sounds good. Next, what does the lab contain? For example, the number of computers. And then the second question to that was, can additional software be loaded if needed for a cognitive study?
Yes, we can work on additional softwares if that's part of the assessments that need to be conducted at the unit. And the exam rooms all have computers, and the cognitive room has, yes, pretty much all the rooms in the unit are equipped with computers and with computer centers.
Next, let's see here. How would I get started if I want to do clinical research but have so far only done basic research?
Call me. So call me. That's the perfect example. That's what we want to do. That's our goal, is to help basic scientists to grow and to be able to translate their research to the human side, and we want to provide that expertise and what is needed. So yes, that is the first step, will be to contact me, and we can talk about what the study needs and what's the objective, what's the goal, and then we will decide how feasible it is to do the study.
Does the CRU provide an estimate or quote for costs to include in proposals, or is there another process?
Yes, no, we do, and we want that. That's part of the first contact with us, is to give you an idea of what's the cost that you need to include in your proposal, in your budget proposal. And we really encourage PIs to come to us early. So then you can have, like, the CRU services will cost this, and that will go the proposal budget.
And that's great advice too. They don't want to have any surprises of cost.
Right, or then actually it happened this summer. A researcher wanted to use our remote service. He wanted us to go to one of the facilities to do a research, but he already negotiated a fee with the sponsor. By the time that he reached out to us, so we tried and we managed to include the fees, but it was a process, and it made the process longer because it was trying to fit the services with the number that the sponsor was expecting. So yes, we want to do that early in the process. I'm sorry.
Do you work with our new hospital partner, and if so, how?
Yes, we work with Memorial. We are actively working with them. At this moment, we are not conducting research with them. Like, we don't have studies with them. They are not even conducting their own studies. They are doing only studies that are critical for the patients. So they haven't been able to start working with us on studies, but yes, we're going to work, and we are working on all our processes and the structure and how the partnership is going to work. We have been working on that during these months.
Can you elaborate on your fee for service? Are there assigned rates for various activities, and/or do you derive money from grants?
Do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, I was going to say I might be able to help you with that one. All of the research corps, they do have approved rates that go through a rigorous approval to make sure that they're federally compliant. And then that's what allows us to charge core services or activities to federal grants. So yeah, everything will be posted. All rates are made public, and they're all the same for every single user. Nobody gets a lower rate than another user. They're equal across the board for all FAU users. So that would be the answer for that one. Let's see what else we got going on here. What is your relationship with the Biostatistics Court? Do you work together to support?
Yes, we want to work together. So our core was approved like 2 months ago. But absolutely, we really want in that process, and when we say that we also provide support on research design, we really want to work on that with the Biostatistics Court. If we see that a study needs to improve in the design, we want to defer that study to the Biostatistics Court first in a way that they can help with the design, and then we can work. In simple procedures or simple designs that need some tweaks, we can help with that, but in general, we want the expertise of the Biostatistics Core also in those studies.
Can an investigator use a procedure room without a study managed by the CRU?
Yes, yes.
And
So there is a fee for that, but yes.
That's what they asked. Okay. Yeah, they had asked if there was a fee associated with that as well. So the answer to that one, I think that might be it. We need to just double check real quick, make sure we didn't miss anybody.
It's a question about that. There's a question. You talk about clinical research. Do you support clinical trials? As I said at the beginning, and that's why I wanted to clarify. Clinical research involves, by NIH definition, is everything related to human subjects looking for a health outcome, a patient outcome, epidemiological studies, health services studies. Clinical trials, we also are able to support clinical trials, in particular clinical trials that follow the definition of NIH, which we went that at the beginning of the presentation, and clinical trials that are FDA regulated that also phase 2, 3, and 4. We don't do phase 0, phase 1 studies, but phase 2, 3, and 4, yes, we can do that.
Okay. I see one here. It says, do you have anyone who can do pulmonary spirometry?
We do. We can do it at the unit. We can do spirometries here at the unit, and we have that capacity. That if it's a remote service, we will, depending on where is that, but yes, we have that capacity.
And do you have an intake form that a user can fill out with they want to request services from the court?
Yes, so we have the website is active, is under the core facilities. At the end of the presentation, there is the link to the website, and there is a tab that says application. So the first thing that we would like to do is to fill out the application for clinical research unit services. So maybe I can share the screen for that. This form is available in our web page. So this is like the official request for a study. This form comes to us. It has a lot of information, but it will give us an idea of the services that the PI needs. And this, other than a phone call, this will be the next step to request services. So let me see if I can show you our web page. And we have here in the application process, we will have a manual. I have the manual, but I didn't upload it to the web page. But we have a manual where the manual describes what are the steps and what kind of studies and all of that. But what's important here is the forms. So this, if you want just a consult meeting to talk about it, you can send us fill out this form. We will get it, and then we will contact you. Yes, let's have the meeting. The form 2 is the application for clinical research unit services. That the form that I just showed is like, I really want these services. This is what I need. This is this is the form with that. And once the study is running and approved, then we have other forms: appointment scheduling form, clinical research unit, study visit orders, and requests for change of research services. This is our CRU DOR. This is our generic email. But also on the web page, you can find Marianne's and my email. We have it here. We have a frequently asked questions section. I think we covered pretty much most of the questions that researchers ask, but we are here for you, so you can contact us, give us a call, phone call, and we will be happy to answer any questions.
Perfect. And the last question here was, if I just want to explore clinical research, but first need to discuss, do you charge for this?
That's a question for Tom.
I would think the initial consultation should not cost anything. Once services start being rendered and whatnot, then of course costs will start.
But I think they are asking if they want to explore like a pilot study or something that they don't know if it's going to be a grant.
Yeah, they can definitely, and we can work it out. We are actually working hopefully on a voucher program as well that will help get funding for new ideas that will lead to external research too. And once that's unveiled, of course, we'll send out an announcement to everybody.
Correct.
And that's all I see on the questions, actually. That's all we had. So I guess with that, we'll call it a close. Thank you very much, Ximena, for your presentation. It was really, really good.
I hope it was informative. Please contact us if you have questions. Just think that this unit is open for everybody. We rather have the unit working with you and for you, that you going all on your own trying to find where to do these studies. If I go to a doctor's office, or we will be able and happy to help to conduct the studies if that's an option. Okay, thank you, Tom.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for attending. And there will be a recording and the slides will be posted on the CRU website, and we may try to add them onto the Research Course website as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.